The Menominee Nation of Wisconsin, examining changes in tribal management and forestry. So the research objective, this study seeks to address the change in forest management throughout time and the lasting effects various forestry practices have made on the landscape. Starting with looking at the tribal management, the Menominee Nation of Wisconsin, and their conservation strategies, which stress collective ownership and sustainable development of the forest. And then moving into the United States government's role and the effects the Dawes Act termination and several other treaties have had, which has impacted the forest and also the tribe. And lastly, looking into the ecological significance of the forest and how it has become an incredible example of sustainable forestry and a model for other forest land managers. And here we just have an image of the Menominee Forest today, showing how distinct their forested land is as compared to other land surrounding it. Moving on to the methodology used in this study. So materials for the research was collected from various tribal websites and archived treaty agreements and reports, and data and maps from other scholarly articles. The tribal websites used for this offered information on the state of the forestry over time through tribal members' point of views. This was a really significant piece of information for this study, getting that perspective from members of the tribe. And then we had data from other peer-reviewed articles which supplemented the reports for interpretation of the forest and land ownership changes throughout the past century. And here we have more about the methodology that went into the research. So one is an example of the treaties signed by the U.S. government and the Menominee. And then the other is a governance initiative made by the Menominee Tribal Enterprise. So moving on to the results, looking at the Menominee Tribal Enterprise's management, it really emphasized honoring the trees through careful attention and respect towards logging and things like having a strict annual allowable cut. Other management strategies to maintain the forest's resilience to climate change and disease. All of this went into creating a profitable and sustainable environment for future generations. So when the United States government got involved, the tribe had to fight for their control over the forest during, the Dawes Act, aiming to reduce the tribe's way of life, and several other treaties, all lasting until around the time of termination, ending in the 1970s. Up until then, the pressure was high for the Menominee people to move away from their sustainable practices due to the poverty they faced, all in exchange for short-term economic gains. Though despite this, the Menominee tribe has persisted and conserved their traditional forestry methods. Okay, continuing the results, since battling for land rights since the mid-1800s, the forest itself has made miraculous recovery. Looking at the ecological significance of this is really thanks to the tribe's place-based forestry values and methods. One, for example, is their sustained yield approach, which is designed to ensure a steady harvest into the future, which really improves the health of the forest. And this has been seen through the extensive growth of new plants and trees and increases in wildlife species. Another methods used by them is the continuous forest inventory. So This is taken every 10 years by dividing forest plots of 1/5 of an acre each and measuring the changes of trees and estimating growth rates. So this really aids foresters in maintaining the diversity, quality, and quantity of the forest. So looking at this map here, it just highlights the reservations of Upper Wisconsin, and specifically pointing to the Menominee Reservation outlined in pink, shows the live tree biomass as greater than 50 tons within this region, which just goes to show how it is one of the most diverse and mature tribal forests of this region. Alright, just summing up the story of the Menominee tribe of Wisconsin is really one of overcoming unintended obstacles as they bear their right to manage and cultivate the original land and forested area. For future implications for the management of the Menominee Forest, it will likely be consistent with challenges faced by the industry as a whole. Even just generally in the U.S., the negative consequences of forestry include closing of pulp mills, a decline in workforce, and just less common forestry inventories. All are affecting the industry. So, despite this, though, the Menominee Forest still stands as a model that consistently adheres to the tribe's principles of sustainability. And really, the secret to this forest remains in the tribe's unchanged fundamental values and honoring the fact that the people are still connected to the land and are still actively working to ensure its protection. And going forward, this forest really sets an example for how foresters could be and should be managing their forested lands. And here I just have my bibliography.